Part 49. Dressed as a mother-in-law, she leads the whole family to turn over. Author, Bamboo Fence Tea. Chapter 481. The two of them helped Mr. Li and Old Man Yang return to their old house. Yang Lauer felt very uncomfortable when he saw that his son, who had returned home in fine clothes, did not see him. He could only grit his teeth and follow them silently. A few steps behind, Mrs. Joe came to Yang Lao-san and muttered, "I don't know what kind of luck the second child has had. It's so shameful that our children are all making great achievements. We have worked hard to cultivate them, but the results are not as good as the others." Some of his cousins. The more Joe spoke, the more aggrieved she became, and she almost burst into tears. Yang Lao-san hurriedly comforted him, "Why are you in a hurry? Mr. Ming has already said that you need to play it slow, take your time, don't be in a hurry. I'm just worried that the rich and the noble will become jinchi. Why don't we also let the rich and the noble take a side course?" Joe suggested. Yang Lao-san stopped him immediately, "Pull him down. Don't think that one thing is the same. The situation of Fugui is different from that of Legui. With such a father, he can only rely on himself for everything. Didn't you hear Sizhuang say that he is in Fukan? Are you going to study while making money? If you come from a wealthy family and can endure hardships, you have already passed the exam. Now you have finally calmed down a little under Mr. Ming's guidance, don't let him make you angry anymore." After being reprimanded like this, Mr. Joe immediately shut up. The old house was busy all day because of the two jinchis. People from all over the country who were related to each other came to the house with congratulatory gifts and tried their best to impress Yang Sizhuang and Yang Fugui. Yang Fugui felt for the first time the earth-shaking changes his status had brought to him. At night, all the guests finally left. Yang and then came to the door and talked about the village school with Yang Sizhuang and Yang Fugui. "Today the children in the village saw you returning home, and they were all very excited to study. I mean, can you please take the time to teach the children, in a class, tell them some big truths? Children like us, the mud-legged ones, won't listen, but they will definitely remember what you elders say for the rest of their lives." These words amused everyone in the courtyard. Yang Sizhuang readily agreed, "My mother-in-law also reminded me to go to the village to learn. In addition, my mother-in-law also prepared 5,000 taels for the village. If there are villagers in the village who are having a hard time and need money, it can be used. The rest it would be great to use it to study in the village or buy some land as family property." Yang An's eyes widened when he heard that Zhang Ning's offer was 5,000 taels. "This is too much." Yang Sizhuang shook his head, "Village chief, if the Yang family wants to prosper, it is indispensable for money. These 5,000 taels may seem like a lot, but in fact they are not much used in the village. Only when there are more promising people in the village can we, the Yang family, really grow." Yang An felt excited after hearing this. He gritted his teeth and took the money. He thought about it and promised again and again that he would arrange the money well. Old Man Yang and Mrs. Li only felt that they were extra long-faced and their waists were straightened up a lot. Wait until Yang An leaves. Only then did Mrs. Li feel sorry for the money. "Your mother-in-law is very happy. Now that she is old, when she leaves in the future, you brothers will split up and you will need money everywhere. 5,000 taels can do a lot of things." Woolen cloth. Ms. Li is really worried that Zhang Ning will lose all the wealth that Da Fang has finally saved. Yang Sizhuang laughed dumbly, "Grandma, just don't worry, our third brother is such a money-making master, 5,000 taels is nothing to my grandma, and she also caught up with me and won the jinchi. Grandma, I'm very happy. I really hope that the village will be able to get up and give me so much money. You can feel relieved." As he said that, he took another 2,000 taels and gave them to Yang Lao-san privately. Yang Lao-san was flattered and wanted nothing, but Yang Sizhuang insisted, "Uncle Third, it is you who have stayed with my grandpa and grandma all year round to fulfill your filial piety. My grandma said that you deserve this money. At the same time, my grandma mom also said that Legui has never suffered hardship since he was a child, and he still has some spirituality. Don't push too hard. It is said that children and grandchildren will have their own blessings. As long as our brothers are here, they will naturally not forget Legui. After hearing Yang Sizhuang's words, Yang Laosan felt relieved, and all the little knots in his heart were gone. Next, Rongsha village held a flowing feast for 3 days. Yang Sizhuang showed up on the first day. After that, he was busy going to Mapo Academy, Longwang Temple, and other places. Yang Fugui stayed in the village to entertain visitors from all walks of life and worked with the village chief to arrange the village. Small and medium-sized things. Yang Lao's face felt doubly bright when he saw his son's beauty. When Yang Sizhuang and Yang Fugui were about to leave, Yang Lao became anxious when he saw that Yang Fugui didn't mention him. He went to the old house in person and said to Yang Fugui with a sullen face, "I want to leave with you." As soon as these words came out, Ms. Li immediately changed her face and said, "I'm not dead yet. Where do you want to go? What do you want to do?" Yang Lao frowned aggrievedly, "Auntie, I only have a son like Fugui. If I don't follow him, who will I follow? What about me and your father? You don't have to be filial anymore? The reason why we don't care about you is because we almost left the house. We didn't give anything, and we didn't have the shame to ask for your service. But these things about us, the money you have given us for our old age has not fallen even once. What can you do to fulfill your filial piety?" Ms. Li said this very rudely. Yang Lao secretly glanced at Yang Lao-san. Seeing that Yang Lao-san didn't even look at him, he knew that Sanfang was not going to get involved. He gritted his teeth and knelt down to Ms. Li with a plop, "Auntie, I beg you. I can't take care of myself, so just let me go with Fugui." He knew very well that if he didn't follow his son this time, it would be difficult for him to seek refuge with his son again in the future, and he would have less and less say in his son's affairs. Ms. Li refused to give in at all, and even asked people to call the village chief and village elders, insisting that the villagers give her justice, and tied Yang Lao tightly with filial piety. Yang Fugui had the support of the Li family, so he naturally did not need to be a villain. He just said to Yang Lao calmly, "I am just a second-class scholar in a partial subject. It is impossible to stay in the capital. After I return to the Ministry of Civil Affairs and report, there is a high probability that it's meant to be released, but now I don't even know where to go. What are you doing with me? And I can only stay at my uncle's house in the capital, so where will you live? Living in the capital is not easy. Money is needed everywhere. What can I do with my little money? Why do you insist on leaving me? Do you think I'm living too easy, or do you think I don't give enough money every year?" The housekeeper of the old house in the east of the village immediately interjected, "The money that the rich young master sends back to the village every year is 15 taels, plus clothes for all seasons, etc., it's quite a lot." Upon hearing this, the villagers scolded Yang Lao for being ignorant. An old man stepped forward with a cane, pointed at Yang Lao's nose and lectured him, "Yang Do. Being rich is enough to be filial. You can live comfortably in the village even if you don't do anything. You have to follow me no matter what you do." The child is dragging him down? My old man is the first to refuse. Your parents are still alive and well, so you can't even think about running away. Under the pointing of the villagers, Yang Lao turned pale and dared not say anything. End of chapter. Dressed as a mother-in-law, she leads the whole family to turn over. Author, Bamboo Fence Tea. Chapter 482. Seeing that it was almost done, Yang Sizhuang hurriedly said, "It's getting late, we have to rush to the county. We must set off early to ensure that we don't miss the day to return to the capital." Originally, he planned to leave one day later, but now that he saw Yang Lao's behavior, he was afraid of causing trouble again, so it was better to leave as soon as possible. Yang Fugui also knew what Yang Sizhuang was thinking, so he followed his words and went back to pack his luggage. After the two left, Ms. Li also breathed a sigh of relief. Seeing that her second son was in a state of despair, she didn't say anything. After Yang Sizhuang returned to Fukan with his troops, he immediately took his matchmaker to pick up Zhou Mian from Zhou Mansion. The group first took a boat to the north, and then transferred to a horse-drawn carriage halfway to cancel their leave before the date set by the Ministry of Officials. Yang Sizhuang undoubtedly entered the Hanlin Academy. Yang Fugui was a little more troublesome. Fortunately, there was a connection like King Xiaoao in Jiangning, so he arbitrarily arranged Yang Fugui to the prosperous Jiangnan. At the same time, she also arranged a marriage for Yang Fugui according to Li's wishes. The other party was the daughter of a 6th-rank Beijing official, which was nothing in the capital. But for Yang Fugui, he had a higher priority for this marriage. After all, the situation at home is really hard to describe. Under the auspices of Jiangning, the two quickly got married and took some guards, maids, and servants to Jiangnan to take up their posts. The wedding day of Yang Sizhuang and Zhou Mian was chosen in October. Fan Tongshu personally came to the house with his two sons and daughter-in-law to express his willingness to help. With Zhou Mian's approval, Jiang Ning asked the Fan family to take Zhou Mian back temporarily. Anyway, the Shi family had already revealed if there is no trouble, Zhou Mian will not be in any danger if he lives in his grandfather's house, and he can also gain a good reputation as a filial piety. In October, the two got married smoothly. Since then, Jiang Ning has finally helped her 4 sons get married and start a business. After marrying off her daughter, she can really relieve herself of the burden and become a wealthy and idle person. At this moment, King Xiaoao personally brought the matchmaker to the door and looked at her eagerly. Jiang Ning was startled and looked at him warily. "What kind of trouble are you trying to make?" King Xiaoao laughed twice and winked. "I think your little girl is quite nice, why don't you give it to my brat? Let me tell you, I am sincere when I come here this time." Sincerity? What sincerity? Jiang Ning raised his eyebrows and immediately looked nonchalant. King Xiaoao smiled apologetically, but he scolded Jiang Ning in his heart. He personally held a box in front of Jiang Ning and said, "My brat saved this by himself. He said it was his wish for your daughter." "What's so mysterious?" Jiang Ning opened the box nonchalantly, then quickly closed it, blinking hard with his beautiful eyes. "How much?" King Xiaoao stretched out a finger and said, 1,000,000 taels. "My son's sincerity in asking for marriage. If you think it's not enough, there are more. The few boxes of gems, jade, and finished products made into head and face accessories are all betrothal gifts for your daughter." Jiang Ning swallowed hard, and it took her a long time to calm down. She really wanted to continue to be aloof and not give up for 5 buckets of rice, but her actions were very honest. She held the box in her arms, smiled so hard that her teeth could not be seen, and her attitude was warm. He stood up and said, "Look at you, we have been friends for so many years, and we have been exposed to so many things. But, since this is the child's sincerity, I naturally can't refuse, otherwise it will make the child's heart cold. Tell me, when are you going to pick me up at my house?" So happy, now it was King Xiaoao's turn to be surprised and became suspicious. Jiang Ning rolled his eyes. "Nonsense. Since I have already accepted your family's betrothal gift, why bother with it? Although our family is not short of money, sometimes money is much more reliable than men. The prince can give out so much money. At least it proves that my daughter is important enough in his heart. In addition, I have watched that child grow up, and his character is much more reliable than yours, so let's leave it at that." The matchmaker thought the matter would be settled, but she didn't expect that Guang Inho would be so happy. The two families immediately agreed on the marriage of their children. The noble girl in the capital also knew immediately that Yang Suejun was going to marry Xiao Konggyun, The prince of Xiaoao prince. Many people were jealous, but they only dared to gossip behind their backs and did not dare to discuss it in public. After all, Yang Suejun became famous in one battle, so everyone could. I don't want to be targeted by her. Time flies, and another year has passed in the blink of an eye. The seeds from the western regions that Yang Santi brought back were growing well, including corn, potatoes and other seeds. She remembered that these originated in South America, and she didn't know how they spread to the western regions. Or maybe the western regions themselves also had these things, but no one knew about them. That's all. Anyway, when these seeds bear fruit and the yield per mu is recorded, she will report the results to the emperor as soon as possible, and then make a contribution to the people of Qi. At this time, Xiao Konggaun, who had made great achievements in the northwest, finally returned to the capital to marry the girl he had longed for. The two got married and returned home 4 days later. Wang Xiaoao and Zhang Ning were sitting in the pavilion in the garden chatting. Xiaoao Wang asked abruptly, "Fellow, from the first time we met, you said you would tell me your details. I have been waiting for so many years but never waited for you to open your mouth. Now that our 2 children are married, isn't it time to get to the bottom of things?" Zhang Ning paused while drinking tea, recalling the past that she had almost forgotten. She was so angry that she gritted her teeth and pounded the table with her fists. "Say whatever you want. If you say too much, it will be hate. I think back then I was also a single aristocrat with a successful career. Not only is my cooking skills incomparable, but I am also ranked among the best in the world. Just because I was chatting with a stranger in a cafe on a blind date, I traveled through time. He must have taken advantage of her and drugged me to death." She had many doubts before, and this answer was the most likely. Xiaoao Wang spurted all the tea in his mouth and said in shock, "Well's Restaurant Coffee Corner, Miss Zhang." Huh. Zhang Ning subconsciously leaned back and stared at Xiaoao King carefully for a few times, with a hint of grit in his tone. "It elite Mr. Xiao." King Xiaoao jumped up quickly and swore to the sky, "I did not drug him. This matter has nothing to do with me. I am innocent." After saying that, the two looked at each other for a long time and suddenly laughed. King Xiaoao continued to sit down, poured her a cup of tea, and raised the glass. "We didn't get married, but we became in-laws. Come. Here's to our fantastic life." Zhang Ning suddenly raised his glass and raised his glass. The two of them looked at each other and smiled, making a tacit agreement not to mention the past. Half a year after Yang Xiao's wedding, news suddenly came from her hometown that old Yang passed away in his sleep. Zhang Ning hurriedly took his son, daughter-in-law, grandson and granddaughter back to attend the funeral. Before they returned to their hometown, they received the bad news that Li had followed them. Brothers Yang Data couldn't help but cry a few times on the road. The village has been keeping the bodies of the old couple until they return before burying them. Zhang Ning went to the old house as soon as he entered the village. When Mrs. Zhou saw her coming back, it was like seeing her backbone. She pulled Zhang Ning and cried bitterly. Zhang Ning felt extremely sad and had to force himself to take charge of the overall situation. Nowadays, the Yang family is full of capable people. Old man Yang is the Li family and is in mourning. Even Pan Ziyuniang, flower shopkeeper, and an Yang Liang's family who live in Songzi town came. Meeting old friends also diluted some sadness. Only then did Zhang Ning realize that everyone was living a good life in recent years, and the first one to bear the brunt was shopkeeper Hua. Not only had his Linjiang Inn expanded, but he had also opened a branch in Fukan, and his business was booming. After Pan Ziyuniang's daughter Hong Xiaoqiao married Zhang Nan, she took care of everything in the family and gave birth to 3 grandchildren. One of them had the surname of Hong Xiaoqiao. Pan Ziyuniang now only takes care of the children, has nothing to worry about, is broad-minded and fat. And Yang Liang's grandmother has passed away a long time ago. Over the years, his business with Ping Shangu has continued, and it has grown bigger and bigger. He can save hundreds of taels a year, and he is already a famous small landowner in Songzi town. Seeing that everyone is doing well, Zhang Ning is really happy. The funerals of Mr. Yang and Mr. Li were very grand. After An Yang Liang and his party left, the Wu family in the town and the shopkeeper of the Das Han Inn followed. The Das Han Inn had been making a good profit relying on Zhang Ning's mushroom recipes, and the shopkeeper had also accumulated a substantial fortune. As he got older, he had resigned from the post of the shopkeeper of the Das Han Inn and returned to the village to buy 100 acres of land. He was living a good life. Tasty. Not to mention the Wu family. Wu Changfeng is a capable person in his own right. In addition, he has cooperated with Zhang Ning many times. He has now left the county bodyguard bureau and started recruiting soldiers and buying and selling his own business. Although the scale is not as large as that of Yang Santi, it is still a small business. Come on, earning a few thousand taels a year is not a problem. Lu Kuiwa has witnessed the rise of Zhang Ning and knows the importance of cultivating future generations. She moved her family to Fukan last year. This time she brought her family back after receiving the news. Zhang Ning was grateful for her kindness and ordered people to entertain the Wu family. With so many people coming, the funeral of Old Man Yang and Mrs. Li was held in a grand and dignified manner. After the old couple were buried, Zhang Ning had enough time to sit down and discuss things with the third room. She stared at Yang Laosan and Zhou, and said in deep thought, "Now that father and mother are gone, there is no need for you to stay in the village to fulfill your filial piety. If you want to follow us, you can go and settle down in the capital or Fukan. I will ask someone to do it for you. You arrange it." If it had been before, the couple would have been ecstatic when they heard this and agreed without even thinking about it. But since the last time they met High Earth Dragon, Zhou didn't dare to make a blind decision, and they still remembered Old Man Yang and what Li said. At that moment, Yang Laosan shook his head. "Sister-in-law, we appreciate your kindness, but our roots are in the village. We have to guard it even if our parents are not here. Besides, we don't have the ability to support ourselves if we go out with you. It's better to stay in the village honestly. It's expensive, but he finally got admitted as a scholar, and we don't have much knowledge and don't know how to help him." Zhang Ning nodded clearly. "You don't have to worry about Li Gui. I'll go to the academy later and ask my husband. If he's capable, I'll let him go to Kuzhu Academy to stay for a few years. After passing the exam, I'll go to the capital. I'll arrange it, but he's already a grown man, and it's time to get married once the filial piety period is over." Mrs. Zhou couldn't wait to say, "Sister-in-law, we believe you, please marry him." They met Yang Fugui, who brought his family back to the village. The woman he married was not only generous and decent, but also very good at getting things done. She arranged everything in an orderly manner. She could even deal with people as stubborn and selfish as Yang Lao'er. Yang Lao'er also kept praising him for being a capable person. Ask yourself, they don't have the ability to find such a capable mother-in-law for their son. Zhang Ning was happy when he heard this. Okay. Both of them are pointing at her to make the decision, so she should just worry about it again. Time flies, and another year passed in the blink of an eye. All her seeds had a bumper harvest, and the crops and yield data were presented to the emperor immediately. With these crops, the people of Qi could completely get rid of famine, even in poor and remote areas. The people of the land can also live a full life. Longzin was delighted, and with the perfect completion of the city wall of Kuzhu Prefecture, the excavation of the Dragon King Temple made significant progress. With a wave of his hand, the emperor granted Yang Changlin the title of Dinkyabo, which was hereditary. He also gave Zhang Ning another title, which she would arrange. After Yang Sizhuang found out about it, he said to Zhang Ning without saying a word, "Auntie, this title is for my third brother. He has been helping our brothers make money these years. Only with fame without official status, and with a title by his side, Can future generations have something to offer? Guarantee, my son is still young, and with my ability, I can also become a prince and prime minister. Yang Siswan clenched his fists and his eyes were burning. Seeing this, Zhang Ning agreed. Since then, the Yang family has given birth to 3 knights, and they have become famous all at once. End of chapter.